Okay, so there's no question that in The Force Awakens, there was some kind of something going on between Finn and Rey. Something, I said, something. To be honest, I don't know what it is, whether it was a flirty friendship or something a little bit deeper, but they definitely had some kind of connection. But on the real, there's definitely some kind of spark there, whether it's a friendship with really good chemistry or something they might be wanting to take to the next level. You never know. But it wasn't totally thrown away in The Last Jedi. There were hints of it here and there, but in the novels, their bond is solidified so much more. And this is the same thing with Reylo. Everyone who watched the film, yes, I'm talking about you, even if you're not a Reylo shipper, you can still tell, just using logic, that there was something going on between these two. Okay, so real quick, this is for the one person watching who doesn't know what Reylo is. This is the name given to the seemingly romantic pair of Rey and Kylo Ren from the newer Star Wars films. If you don't know what Star Wars is, you've clicked on the wrong video. Better sit back and prepare to do some learning. The two constantly show little signs of intimacy and flirting throughout the film, enough to romanticize the whole movie, and just handed all the Reylo shippers from the first movie gallons of gasoline to pour on their fire, just fueling the flames. And it wasn't too overly obvious in the movie. You could tell they had a connection, but it wasn't anything too crazy intimate. Well, The Last Jedi novel and Junior novel were just released the other day, so I went ahead and picked them up and gave them a read through real quick. It took me like 6.5 hours, but it was definitely worth it. They over-romanticized every single ship we saw in the movie, from Rey and Kylo to whatever was left of Rey and Finn from The Force Awakens, and also this out-of-the-blue fling with Rose and Finn. There was so much that was left out of the movie, and the director, Rian Johnson, directly worked with the author and had a major influence on the book. I kinda think this was his outlet to justify some of the plot holes we found in the movie, as well as give all the fanboys and girls some more drama and hope to cling to for the future of Reylo. Now, as much as I thought the spark between Rey and Finn had died since we last saw them in The Force Awakens, I was proved wrong throughout the entire book. When Finn, Rose, and DJ were approaching the Supremacy, the book tells of how Finn was thinking back to when he was on Starkiller Base, and how if he never went unconscious, he would have most likely insisted on accompanying Rey on her Jedi hunt, or tried to convince her to join him somewhere in the Outer Rim. That's crazy! That's such a big what if too. I mean, I honestly don't think Rey would just jump at the chance to abandon ship and go get lost with him away from all the danger, but he would have at the very least ended up on Ahch-To with Rey, which would have made for a very awkward love triangle of emotions between him and Reylo, and I thought this was just one-sided at this point, and Rey was now focused on Kylo. But jump to the end of the movie where everyone's on the Falcon and Leia notices Rey watching Finn giving attention to this other girl, Rose. Then Rey starts to distract herself by observing the lightsaber remains and tries to fit them back together. Wait, what is you doing? Surely you know those pieces won't go back together when you and Loverboy were just fighting over it and it literally exploded, leaving you both unconscious. Like, girl, at the very least, take some scotch tape to it or something. Maybe there's a force power for fixing lightsabers, I don't know, but that seems silly. Sorry for the interruption. When in the movie, Leia just sits down and starts talking to Rey and we see the pieces for a split second. We were clearly giving way more context in the book that we just didn't even come close to in the movie. But Rey is eyeballing him, taking care of Rose? Is she jealous? You were just force Skyping with your Sith boyfriend a second ago. This one just left me so confused. But I was taken by surprise even more when Rose kissed Finn after she almost killed him. The book offers a lot of insight on their thoughts. Well, at least Rose's for this relationship fling thingy. I don't even know what it is. But after Rose zapped Finn half to death and he came back too, and they figured out how to take down the bad guy's tracker, Finn was telling the plan to Poe, and it says Rose was thinking of how handsome Finn was, but it was too bad he was a traitor. I mean, I guess jumping to conclusions and assuming someone's intent justifies them being taken off the smash or pass list. But it also goes on to say Rose knew Finn had this bizarre crush on that friend of his, and whoever this Rey was, she had to be quite something to make you desert people you fought alongside and the cause you'd come to believe in. And while they were in the casino, Finn kept saying how he wished Rey were here to see this, and Rose got so annoyed she finally said something and told him he was heavy pining over this girl. Now, real quick, I know all my viewers are smart and A+ students, but I never heard of this word before and had to look it up for myself, so here's the definition. To miss and long for the return of. Wow, Finn was pining. He's a piner. I knew it. He of course said he wasn't, and she pointed out how he was so head over heels for her that he was ready to abandon the resistance for her. He replied by saying that when he met Rey, it was the first time he had someone he cared about to fight for, and that's who he wanted to be. Like, wow, that's major shippage material, and none of this even made it close to the screen. A few minutes later, they're thrown in jail, and guess what? Finn immediately goes to say, oh no, Rey is done for if we can't get out of here. And at this point, it says that Rose is just straight up annoyed, and I mean, like, Finn's in the clear, because Rose has never made it apparent to the audience, and more importantly Finn, that she has a crush on him. Like, how is he supposed to know if we don't even know? And then fast forward to the battle on Crate and that whole T-boning scene where Rose almost straight up murders Finn herself, which is weird because in the book it said she hit him from behind when she clearly just rammed the crap out of him from the side, but whatever. Moving on, she kisses him and he never saw it coming from a mile away. And then apparently he builds a makeshift sled out of the wreckage of her skimmer, and as he's dragging her back to Leia and the other rebels in the cave, she comes to for a second to say that when they first met she was dragging him and makes some dumb statement that they've come a long way and now he's dragging her. They both kind of smile and she knocks right back out. Jump to later, when Rey's clearing out the boulders from the cave's exit, apparently on the other side, Finn and Rose were holding hands. Then a second later, we see Finn not holding her hand anymore and he actually totally abandoned her and now is standing by this alien dude and Carrie Fisher's daughter. Like, that's gotta be a little awkward, almost getting caught with side bay when your main girl just saved you and the entire resistance from this impending doom. And the book says Finn ran up to Rey and she fell into Finn's arms, and they were sobbing and laughing at the same time and she held him tight. Excuse me? That was no sobbing and laughing. Why you gotta tease us like this in the book? Like, they are purposefully adding more emotion and drama to these relationships all around. Now, although Reylo got a lot more intimate on screen than we were expecting, like at one point, Rey is literally struggling to speak at the sight of half-naked Kylo Ren. Yeah, that happened, and it's canon. Oh, and that little thigh grab from Rey in Snoke's throne room, don't even get me started on that. And honestly, all their intimacy on screen was enough to logically give Reylo the recognition of it actually being a thing. But it gets even better. Reading these books was literally like reading a fan fiction. It was so much more romanticized than the movie. Jump to Reylo's shirtless Force Skype and it describes Kylo as being stripped to the waist in his chamber. The angry scars she'd given him in their duel snaked down his face and neck across his collarbone. "Oh," Rey said. Her eyebrows rose and she momentarily looked away in embarrassment. Then it says Rey forced herself to focus and look back into his needy eyes. Like, what the heck? This is actual 50 Shades of Grey stuff right here. What am I reading? This is canon. Move to the next Force Skype, the important one, where they touch hands, and this is how the book describes it. The connection between them was so raw and powerful that it reminded her of touching a live wire. She had closed her eyes, opened them, and found Kylo Ren there, right next to her where she sat on the stone bench, as if she could actually reach out and touch his hand, his face, his hair. And at the sight of him, she'd felt relief surge through her. Kylo listened intently, his long face passive. Are you seeing this? Someone actually wrote this and someone at Lucasfilm okayed it to be official canon. This is literally a space fairy tale complete with a princess and her dark prince. And one of the most important things we missed is when Rey came aboard the Supremacy in her escape pod while she was holding Anakin's lightsaber. Which, by the way, is super reminiscent of Snow White in a coffin holding some flowers being greeted by her prince. Just saying, food for thought. Kylo comes to meet her, and it says he smiled at the sight of Rey. We missed a Kylo smile! How dare they rob us of that? But moving forward, Kylo tells the troopers to leave them as they step in the elevator alone. And looking past all the wonderful dialogue in this scene we get in the movie, this is where the book says Rey came to the realization that Kylo's churning emotions weren't just about himself. They were also about her. Am I reading the right book? Is this the fan fiction or... Nope, yeah, this is the official novel. Wow. And we cut to the craziest wicked fight scene of the whole movie where they were both fighting all these bad guys at the same time, and yet they were both still concerned for each other and couldn't stop looking back and forth. Then Rey goes for that thigh grab. Wow. Like, this book says, after the last of the guards were defeated, their eyes met, Rey's filled with joy. They talked for a bit, then Kylo locks eyes with her and says, "You have no place in this story. You come from nothing. You are nothing." And then his eyes softened. "But not to me. Join me, please." He turned his uncle's lightsaber off and stretched out his hand to her. I sat in the theater and my little fanboy heart was beating so fast I completely forgot I was watching a Star Wars movie and not some sappy love story. They ended up having another fight, then the lightsaber explodes and Rey grabs the pieces and leaves, but not before she did this.
Is he dead? No, look! He's breathing. He's so beautiful. Where will you run? Where will you run?
I mean, that's what probably happened, but I guess we'll officially never know. And the book says when Kylo woke up and noticed Rey must have recovered first, he realized he was at her mercy, yet she'd left him alive, almost as if she cared for him. This is word for word how it's written in the book. I'm not making this up. This is so over-romanticized in the movie. They did this on purpose for all the fans, I'm telling you. And during their last Force Skype call, when Rey was on the Falcon, I was a little confused because in the book it said she thought he had betrayed the person he should be, but she was wrong. She had betrayed him. which made me stop and think. Why would Rey feel like she betrayed him by not turning to the dark side to rule the galaxy with him? That would be wrong of her to do. Why would she think she betrayed him? So I hit up the author on Twitter, and he responded and said that it was simply from Kylo's point of view. He had saved her from Snoke, joined her in fighting the guards, and had given her the chance to join him, and she refused. Whereas Rey, on the other hand, is the one that thinks he betrayed the good person she sees in him, which makes so much more sense, and I hope they make up and can come to terms with each other and their feelings they have for one another in the next movie. Really looking forward to how JJ will bring this trilogy to an end. But come to think of it, like I said, Star Wars is a fairy tale, one that's set in space, complete with a princess, a dark prince, and a castle, with two sides waging war against each other. Now, whatever Reylo is, I'm really excited for it. Please subscribe and comment down below what your thoughts on it are. I'm really curious to know what you guys think of it and read through what you have to say. And they honestly really did make this relationship so much more emotional and romantic than it was displayed on screen. And I'm not entirely sure why. Like I said before, I think Rian Johnson was using this as a medium to add in little details to the story that he wasn't able to put in the movie and help give us this string of hope to hold on to. But the thing is, JJ's interpretation of the story could be completely different than Rian's. So anything is literally possible. And I think we'll end up seeing more of Reylo in the future. Don't worry your little shipper heart, I'm right there with you. But thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. It just lets me know I was able to entertain you for a bit. I really appreciate you sitting all the way through this. Go follow me on Twitter at MichaelJ YouTube, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.
No, look! He's breathing. He's so beautiful.